everyone, welcome to another Music of the Month review. For those who don't know the show, basically I gather all the albums I listened to in the previous month, even if they didn't come out technically in the previous month, they could have come out earlier in the year, and review them for your pleasure. Also, yes, my hair's quite fluffy. I showed earlier today, and speaking of fluffy, my cat is right up there, but that's not what the focus is. The focus is on the albums of the month of March. As always, it's alphabetical order in terms of bands, so start from the top, work our way down, and our first one is Battle Beast with their album No More Hollywood Endings. My first Battle Beast album, I think it's their 6th or 7th. They've been around a little while. They're added to my Season 5 of Backtracking, which, by the way, I have a little announcement about that by the end of this. For those who saw my post on Facebook, you know the announcement. But yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. A bit immemorable. Like, I don't remember a lot of the album, but I liked what I remember. Not really cracking my top 10 immediately, but from what I heard, I liked it. You know, it was pretty good. Really good, solid female metal. Really good stuff. Children of Bodom next with their album Hexed. Their 10th album, I want to say. My first Children of Bodom album. The weird thing is, like, a few years ago, my grandma got me a Children of Bodom shirt, even though I wasn't a fan of the band at the time. But then I heard they were releasing new music, and I listened to some singles, and they're quite good. This album is also quite good. I rate it slightly above No More Hollywood Endings. Once again, not cracking my top 10, but I liked it a lot more than No More Hollywood Endings. Just solid metal, solid thrashy, punchy metal. I quite liked it. Melodic death metal, I think it mostly is. So yeah, it carried a good flow to it. I liked what I heard. Next is Demon Hunter with War and Peace. Another one, not cracking the top 10. I know it's a wee bit of a theme. I feel like this song would have been better if it was one album told in a concept, but it was two different albums released on the same day, which I thought was a little bit weird. Like, I get the concepts, like War is the heavier album, because technically it is two different ones, not even technically. War is the heavier album, Peace is a bit more slow. Both are equally sort of okay, I guess. Once again, nothing really cracking my top 10 stuff. I feel like something as big as this should have had a story behind it or something. Otherwise, it was just two albums for the sake of two albums. Once again, not complaining too much, but yeah. Next is I Prevail with Trauma. This one quite surprised me. Once again, not cracking my top 10. I'm sorry. But yeah, I actually quite liked it. I listened to their debut when it came out in 2016. I forgot to say about Demon Hunter, I think this is their 8th album. Their 8th or 9th. Well, technically 9th and 10th, or 8th and 9th, because it's two albums. But yeah, Trauma by Prevail. I liked their last one. I thought the last one was pretty good. It wasn't high on my list in 2016, but I remember enjoying it. I liked Trauma a little bit more. Like, it's a bit more of a personal album, and I quite like how they went for that route a bit better. They're just lacking that certain something that's really going to progress, that's going to propel them through the stratosphere. But more of that potential is there, and I'm glad that they're changing things up a bit. So yeah, I actually quite liked it. I was pleasantly surprised. Next is In Flames with I The Mask, my first In Flames album since Sounds of Playground Fading in 2011. Because I just sort of fell off them after that, even though I hadn't listened to any before then. But I liked that album, and then tried listening to the next album and just wasn't as into it. But I thought I'd add the new album I The Mask for 2019 and to my listen to list, I guess you could call it. And once again, solid metal, solid Swedish death metal, because they do death metal like the fucking Dickens. They know what they're doing. Once again, not in my top 10, but once again, wasn't super offended by it. I would lump this with No More Hollywood Endings in sort of the lower tier of albums of March, personally. It's not one I remember the most, which is weird because, yeah, I mean, Sounds of Playground Fading was great. I never listened to the albums between that, but probably should. Next is Loud Dispute with Panorama, my first Loud Dispute album, their 4th overall, I think. Their first since 2014, which I think is... I don't remember the name of it, so I'm not even going to bother. But this album could actually be in my top 10. I loved the story behind it. It was told brilliantly. I like the experimental nature of the album. I really, really enjoyed the concept. And yeah, it was just something. It was just one I really, really fucking enjoyed. So might be in my top 10, might be an honorable mention. We'll see. We're only just now getting into April, so yeah. Next is Oakley Dokley, the Ned Flanders themed death metal band with their second album, Hoodly Toodly. I did miss their debut title, Hoodly Doodly, in 2016, I think it came out. But yeah, I listened to this one, and it's weird to think that between the three albums I listened to this past Friday, which were this, Whitechapel's The Valley, which we'll get to later, and Trauma by Prevail, this was the album I found myself enjoying the most, weirdly. I laughed and I couldn't stop nodding my head to it. Like, I don't know if it's going to be in my top 10 of the year, but hell, I laughed like a fucking moron. Even though I don't remember a lot of Ned Flanders quotes, like, the gimmick works. I don't really know how the gimmick for this band works, but it just does. And, yeah, I'm gonna look at more of the stuff, mostly for laughing purposes. I don't think they'll ever crack my top 10 unless they put something super duper duper good. But this album is pretty good, it's pretty funny, so yeah. All in all, I enjoyed it. Next is Our Last Night with Let Light Overcome, their first album in 4 years, the first full one, my first album by them. I think their fourth overall. And I like the album. I thought it was good and heavy. It's got Our Last Night's signature, really, really good balance with like metalcore and hardcore and stuff. But the album is so short. Like, I know they've put out a string of EPs between their last album and this one, but this album feels like shorter than all of those EPs put together. I didn't listen to any of them because I don't do EPs, but yeah, I just wanted there to be more to this album. There's only like 8 songs, and I think the last one's mostly instrumental. So I don't know. I mean, the sound is good. Everything about it is pretty great, but it's just over way too quick. I wanted there to be more from this album. I wanted there to be more to digest and talk about, but there's just not. However, it's not the worst album of the year, and I still really enjoyed it for its time. So, next is Weezer with the Black Album. Um, I want to say it's their 13th. They've put out quite a lot of albums, especially in like 2010, 2011. Like they could not stop themselves from putting out albums around the year 2010. But yeah, um, not in my top 10. If I'm being honest, maybe my least favorite album of March. Not because of the style of it, but because with the title like the Black Album, I expected them to be a little bit heavier, but they were more experimental. They added more electronic elements, and it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. It's a lot more energetic than Pacific Daydream was a couple of years ago, but I don't know. One big on this one. Wasn't big on it. I want them to. I know they made fun of it technically in one of the songs from Everything Will Be Alright in the end, but I want them to go back to that style more, that sort of nerdy punk style. I miss that from them, you know? And I got no problem with them wanting to experiment, but they're doing it too much now, and it's getting kind of tired and boring in a way. Yeah, I know that's weird to say, but that's just how I feel. But from my least favourite album of March to my most favourite, and everyone already fucking knows what this one is. So What by While She Sleeps. Yes. Album of the year, maybe, possibly. While She Sleeps. They would be the first band to put out 3 albums that made album of the year. So that'd be interesting. Because Brainwash was my favourite 2015, You Are We was my favourite 2017, and This Is the Six was not my favourite overall of 2012, but it was on my favourite of 2012 list, so spoilers there for when I actually get around to those videos. But yeah, I really, really liked it. It was a slightly different style, but it's still While She Sleeps at its core. It's still extremely catchy, brilliantly structured. I love how they write their music all in all. Great lyrics, pretty much great everything. I'm definitely part of the So What movement, like the So What philosophy. I've got that in my head. So I really, 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 really fucking like this album. I just want more people to listen to While She Sleeps because I feel like they're the most important band in British metal right now. So yeah, that's just how I feel about my favourite bands, possibly ever, maybe? I don't know. Next we have Whitechapel with The Valley, their 7th album, my first full album by them. I forgot to mention So What by While She Sleeps is their 4th. But yeah, Whitechapel with The Valley. I really, really, I liked it. I wouldn't put it in my top 10, I expected a little bit more from these guys, but that's because, all in all, I'm not a deathcore fan. Like, personally, I just feel like it's just sort of a lot of it sounds the same to me, and I say that as a person who listens to a lot of punk and metal, which is music that people would say sounds the same to them. But yeah, I liked it. I like the story behind it. I like how much of a personal album it was. It sort of carried a little concept to it. Had a really good length. Didn't super duper bore me, but I feel like I should have listened to more of these guys beforehand. I this album is not in my top 10, but I enjoyed what I heard. And of all the albums in March that are not in my top 10, this is probably the album most highest above all those, maybe. But yeah, well, except for the last album, which we're going to get to soon. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed the Valley. I just thought it was really solid work. Didn't reach any zeitgeist for me personally, but what it did achieve, I can appreciate, and I am now starting to see why people like Whitechapel, because a lot of people do. They're a likable band, so for a deathcore band, especially. So it's kind of weird. And lastly, we have Zebrahead with Brain Invaders. Now, Zebrahead are my season 3 finale backtracking, and I'm really glad they put this album out because I had my doubts that I was going to be able to make it a 3-part finale, but I am. And it's double good because this album's pretty fucking great. Yeah, I mean, it's just a culmination. It feels a lot like Walk the Plank did, just a culmination of all their work up until this point with more stuff tried. Really, really good punk. There was more of a punk focus on this one, like more of a classic pop punk focus. But hell, there were still elements of their more metal stuff, the more hardcore stuff, the sort of funk stuff, I guess you could call it. Yeah, like this album was experimental, but really, really fun, really straightforward pop punk, really punchy and catchy, and gets sunk into your ear really, really easily. This is another album that could be in the top 10. I had a really fun time enjoying it. Like, I don't really have a lot of bad to say about it, to be honest. Really, really good, fun, about what you'd expect from Zebrahead. I mean, they get more recognition now, which is weird considering they've been around for over 20. I want to say over 25 years. They've been around for a really long time, and people forget that. But yeah, really like this album. Solid, enjoyable. Maybe in the top 10. I don't know. But yeah, all in all, March was mostly a mixed bag. We had mostly okay albums, 3 really good ones, one that was just which is Black Album by Weezer. Yeah, but yeah, all in all, it was pretty decent month. Was March probably my favorite so far? Maybe. Well, I don't know. We've still got like 9 months to go, and by which time I will have a baby. I will see you all for April, of which there's at least 4 albums to talk about. And I just remembered the announcement about Backtracking Season 5. All-female season. There's going to be 30 episodes. The first time I will ever have done 30 episodes for a Backtracking season. Which means I'm going to have to do a lot of digging to find the 14 other female-fronted bands. At least 4 of those need to have at least between 7 and 10 albums as well. Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to doing it though. But yeah, back to work on the Median Lake stuff. The new episode, the backtracking episode about those should come out tomorrow because I did promise 3 videos in a row. There was the Fire the Night review yesterday. This Music of the Month episode today. Backtracking tomorrow. So I'll see you possibly all then, and I hope you enjoy the music of March, the music of the past month as much as I did. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.